Carolina This Week with Tim McGinnis.
2012 Republican presidential hopeful Rick Santorum stopped in the area this past week. He's joining me now. Thank you for taking some time on what could be one of the hottest days in South Carolina this summer to talk with us.
It's pretty warm out there. I'll vouch for that.
I want to talk about the issue that everybody's talking about in Washington and around the country right now, which is the debt ceiling and the ongoing negotiations. This is Tuesday afternoon. I don't know where we're going to be by the time a lot of this airs on Sunday. What do you make of the negotiations that are happening? It seems like the president's having to give a lot of ground right now, upsetting not only his own base, but of course the Republican Party as well.
Well, look, the president's put us in this position. I mean, this profligate spending, the huge expansion of government. We should be in a robust recovery right now, but through the tax increases, the imposition of Obamacare, the imposition of a whole new regulatory scheme on financial services, the EPA, the NLRB, like here in South Carolina, you have this regulatory environment that's really killing jobs. And when you kill jobs, you kill tax revenues and you create unemployment, which even draws more spending. So the president's dug us deeper in this hole, and he's refused to really do anything to try to dig us out. He's drawn the line, saying no big cuts in spending. And it puts the Republicans in a position where they have to draw the line too. And I think you draw the line by saying, you know, I agree with Jim DeMint, cut, cap, and balance. I would argue the most important of the three is the long-term solution. The long-term solution to this problem is balancing the budget. And the only way, having served in Congress for 16 years and been in these meat grinder sessions where they work on all these cuts, half of which, candidly, are phony. In other words, they're never going to happen, but they put them up there saying, oh, we're going to cut this 10 years from now, and it never happens. So instead of a bunch of phony cuts, let's get something real. What's real is a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution that can go out to the states and impose a real cap, a real budget balancing a requirement in the Constitution. That's the best thing that can come out of this negotiation, and I think that's the thing that the Republicans in the Senate should be angling for.
Is there anything that should be off the table when it comes to cutting spending, including things like defense?
I've said that we should hold the line on defense spending, that I don't think we need to cut defense spending. There's certainly reallocation of resources within the Defense Department, but the one thing the federal government can do that no other government can do is national security. And so that is not the area we should be going first to cut. Whether it's health care plans or income security plans or food programs or housing programs, all those things can be done on the state level. And in fact, many of them should be done more on a state level. And one of the things that I proposed is, in fact, shifting some of those burdens away from Washington, D.C., getting Washington out of these things and putting them back on the state. But the federal government must and can only do national security. That's not an area we should be cutting.
When you look at the field of your fellow candidates right now, Michelle Bachmann seems to be taking a pretty strong lead. You're not up there near the top in at least polling right now. Yeah. How do you plan to change that?
Well, I call our campaign the little engine that could campaign. We just hitch the train up and we just start chugging away. And we're investing more time and energy in the early primary states. This is my 20 or 21st visit to South Carolina. This is my, I think, third or fourth trip to Horry County, and we're in Iowa. I've been there 22, 23 times. New Hampshire, the same thing. We're talking to anybody who wants to listen, but mostly activists, people who are going to be the folks who are going to be the movers and shakers when the primaries come along. And we've got 6-7 months before these primaries happen. There's plenty of time for this little engine that could to keep chugging up that mountain. And by February, we'll be in pretty good shape.
I remember covering the 2008 election, and I thought to myself and mentioned among friends, whoever wins this is going to have a very tough time being reelected because they didn't inherit. They inherited a big mess.
Yeah, well,
you would inherit a big mess.
Yeah, maybe probably a bigger mess if you really think about it. I mean, we were in a recession, but it was a recession that, had we played it right, had the policies been adopted to allow America and Americans to feel the pain, and, for example, get the housing market resolved instead of doing what we did, which was prop it up, and now we're going to be maybe another 6, 7, 8, 9 years of a dying housing market because we wouldn't let it die and find its level to then come back up again. Sometimes you have to take the hit. And particularly in capitalism, there's constructive capitalism, but also when we reach a bubble, you got to burst the bubble, find the new level, and start building again. And because of government intervention, that didn't happen this time, and that's why you're seeing the pain last as long as it is, and it's because of this president and his unwillingness to believe in markets and more his belief in government.
I want to get to a few questions. I solicited people on my Facebook page and on News Channel 15's Facebook page to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
A couple of them might get back to ground we've already covered, but Andrea Brooks asked, I'd like to ask him his plans for Social Security, education, and taxes. Will there be more tax cuts?
Yeah, I proposed actually a tax cut when I was in Iowa last week. I did a jobs tour and focused on a lot of different, reducing marginal rates, cutting the corporate tax in half. One little wrinkle that is unique to what we proposed was cutting the corporate tax rate to 0 on all manufacturers. So if you want to manufacture things in this country, you're not going to have to pay a corporate income tax. And I think that's going to be a very powerful tool to do something that we've lost, which is our manufacturing jobs in this country. If we don't start making things again in America and expanding that manufacturing base, we are not going to be a first world economy. China's going to pass us. Other countries are going to pass us, like India. We need to get those jobs back from China, back from Mexico, back from India, get them here in the United States and create wealth again.
Well, you answered another question, which was from Judy Knight. She said, what do you plan to do about getting our manufacturing plants back in this country? You just answered it.
Yeah, I did.
Mark Halburn asked, what will he do to fix the health care crisis in America?
Well, the big problem with health care is that government is now the dog wagging the dog. It used to be, the tail wagging the dog. Now it's the dog. In other words, government with Medicare, Medicaid, and government health care programs now consume over 50%, pay for over 50% of health care in this country. So the idea that we have a private sector healthcare system, no, we don't. We have a government-run healthcare system through those big programs, and then we have a smaller private sector program out there when it comes to dollars spent. And even that is now over-regulated by the federal and state government. So what we need to do is go back again, believing in people, believing in markets, not believing in government, believing free people, if given the opportunity to make decisions, can make decisions better for themselves than government can make. And so what I'm proposing is, let's get, we have Obamacare. I'm proposing YouCare, Y-O-U. So the focus is not on Barack Obama's top-down prescription for how everybody's going to get their health care, but it's a bottom-up, giving you the ability through tax credits and through other types of benefits to purchase the health care you want, have you involved in health care decisions. Because if you're not, as a consumer, if you're not involved in purchasing your health care and involved in how you consume it, then someone else is going to ration that for you, and I think most people don't want to see that. I certainly don't.
No commercials this week. I've got to end the show now.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us. Hope to see you back on Carolina this week, next week.